You know, if you'd listened to World Have Your Say on BBC World Radio, World Service Radio, you would have heard some.
Well, what I was going to say is the people who are saying stuff about it happens to be the Americans, who are the bad guys, you know, that we're supposed to be wiped off the face of the map.
Well, that's interesting. Those of you watching, do you think that it is always Americans who stand up for these kind of issues, these issues of freedom, such as the lady who is in prison in Iran, or do you think that Bill is maybe looking at it with a bias towards America? You can call us up now. We're live. It's country code 44 2070 83 72 72. If you're just joining us, we're live from New York. I'm sure you've guessed that, judging by the backdrop that we've got behind us. And we're talking about the anniversary of 9/11 and America's relationship with Islam. Let me pull up one more email here. It's from Uganda. It's come in from Mahumza. It's posted on Facebook. The rest of the world may not share the same feelings about the place, but I think we need to respect the Americans. I think that the construction is just another mockery. Then they have the right to have mixed feelings. And a poll has found that over 50% of Americans have decidedly mixed feelings about this mosque. Let's bring in a guest in London. Ahmed Versi is the editor of Muslim News. Ahmed, you've been listening to our conversation. What would you like to pick up on?
Well, I think what I would like to say is that it is important that we allow this construction of the Islamic Cultural Center to go ahead, because by banning that or relocating it, what kind of message you are sending to the Arab, Muslim, and the rest of the world is that Islam is potentially a violent religion. We cannot have that practice of that religion next to ground zero, or even however near or far that might be. So I think you're sending a message that 1.5 billion Muslims around the world are potentially extremists or terrorists. And also you are giving ammunition to the tiny minority of the extremists and the terrorists, that the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq is a war against Islam and Muslims, because they'll be saying, look, what's happening in New York. They are even refusing to have even a cultural center, forget a mosque. So this is a war against Islam. And I think it is important that we have a positive message rather than a negative message.
Well, Ahmed, as you're talking, Susan and Bill here are both itching to get in. Bill, you make a quick comment, and then Susan, by all means, follow.
I don't like it when people tell me it's a war against Islam, because it's not. It's a war against... It's a war who are actually taking what they read in the Quran and turning it into their way. Now, about this mosque, the Imam himself said that if the mosque is moved, that we should watch out because the radicals will come out of the woodwork and start attacking. Also said was that if this Quran is burnt down in Florida, that the radicals would come out. And I'm told that 1.5 billion Muslims, most of them are peaceful people, they are God-loving people, they want harmony, and it's only a small faction that are the radicals. So why don't we burn one Quran? Why don't we move this building and let that small faction of radicals come out? We get rid of the problem, because now we'll know who they are.
All right, you're saying move it. And a lot of New Yorkers are saying this is a better compromise. Let's move it a couple of blocks. Susan, I will come to you, but we have Ali on the phone from Baghdad, who's been patiently waiting. I want to speak to him while the phone line is good. Ali, what do you want to say? Ali, I can't hear you very well, so I think that phone line is not so great. So in the meantime, let me pull up one more email here. This is from Mbuyu in Zambia, getting in touch through Facebook. I think a mosque should be built on Ground Zero. Through this, Americans will be able to see the true face of the Muslim religion, not one being portrayed by the Taliban. Father Gresh, okay, let me see if we can do this Iraq line again. Ali in Baghdad, can you hear me okay? Okay, we don't have Iraq, so in which case I can't go to that. In which case, let me go to Father Gresh. Father Gresh, tell me, do you think that actually what Americans need is a cultural center like this right by Ground Zero, which can teach them more about Islam?
Well, I think that authorizing having a mosque near Ground Zero or in the perimeter of Ground Zero, it shows the tolerance of the West. But I think that the people are not ready for that. There is a psychological factor that has to be put in consideration. 9/11 is still fresh in the memories of the American people. Hello? So I think it is time that we'll have to heal now what is happening.
Father Gresh, thanks for those views from Cairo. We're listening to you, absolutely. Let's bring in our guest in London. Would you agree with that, Ahmed?
disagree, because by doing that, what you are trying to say that the responsibility of 9/11 was actually the religion of Islam and the majority of Muslims. It isn't. By bringing this issue up that we cannot have a mosque next to where, or even nearby where the 9/11 took place, you're saying that it is the religion that's a problem. But that's not the issue. In fact, the whole issue is that we have a minority of people who are extremists and terrorists. On the contrary, by having a mosque, that you are actually arguing against the arguments that are put forward by the extremists on this issue.
Let's bring in a guest in Karachi in Pakistan. Dr. Awab Alvi got in touch with us through Facebook. He's a blogger and a doctor. We got back to him. Sir, thanks for coming on the program. How have people been reacting to the threats of burning Qurans, obviously taking place in Florida, but how have they been reacting in Pakistan? Dr. Alvi, I can't hear you. We'll try and clear that line up. In the meantime, Susan, I wonder, you've watched this whole debate play out in the week running up to 9/11. Does it make you proud to be American that your country's having this debate, or do you feel ashamed that it still has to have this debate?
Well, I'm ashamed of the lurid accusations, and I'm concerned that the picture that it sends around the world of America is a very false picture. I think it's a political controversy which has been ginned up by certain politicians, and I think that the image that people need to have of America is the image that somebody running for office here in New York talked about, which is being at the Pentagon 2 days after it was hit by the planes, walking down the hall, looking in an open door, and realizing he was looking into the mosque, which is located in the Pentagon, watching military personnel at their prayers, and other military personnel walking up and down the hall, nothing unusual. In his words, another day in America, a good day in America.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, let's try and speak to Ali in Baghdad and Dr. Alvi in Karachi. Ali, first of all, fingers crossed you can hear me this time. What comment do you want to make?
First of all, I want to say I'm not against building the mosque, but I don't really want it to happen. Because America has a culture which has been built brick by brick on democracy. And the reason why I don't want it to happen is to respect the feeling for those who lost people that are related to them, such as their father or a mother or a close friend. So I think it's disrespectful for those people.
Ali, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us from Baghdad. While you were doing that, we've said goodbye to Bill. He's had to go back to the construction site where he works here in New York. But we're joined by Parvez Sharma, an Indian filmmaker and writer here, who's been listening to our conversation from the sides. What issue would you like to pick up on?
I think that I'm a little bit tired of the self-righteous anger of the American left as much as I'm tired of this whole controversy. I'm a Muslim. I've always been one. I know my Quran really well. And I don't think that Imam Faisal Roth represents me.
And he's the man behind the Park 51 project,
behind
the
Park
House
51.
Initiative.
And I find his motivation suspect. I think this discussion needs to be about whether he deliberately and carefully planned the location of this mosque in a sensitive location. And what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that space mean to all Americans?